welcome back to episode 3 of the Run Disney Rundown. We are fresh off of Marathon Weekend, and we are here to give you our thoughts. And joining us today is a whole crew of people, plus another guest who will join us later in the show. But starting on our top left here, we got our host, Steve Creasy, along with his wife, Anawake.
How you guys doing tonight?
Hello.
Bottom below me, our shoe connoisseur, Steve.
I'm gonna spit my wine off. I'm a connoisseur.
And bottom left, making a return to Run Disney after a long time, our friend Christy from Pack Your Pixie Dust.
Hi, everyone.
So, Marathon Weekend just happened. How are we all feeling now? I mean, it's been over a week now, so hopefully we're all good and fresh. Are we back to running, except for Steve? I hope his answer's no.
No, I'm not running yet, but biking hard.
Good. You did, he crushed me on the Peloton today, I will say.
Oh, did you guys do the Disney Peloton?
No, but he chose to do like the hardest one possible. I was not ready for that.
I missed that one, Christy. I know there was a live class today at 9:30. There was a Disney class. I'm going to do it.
Oh, yeah, you were watching the real marathon, the Houston Marathon.
Yes, I was watching Houston Marathon today. It was awesome.
That was really cool.
From now on, you have to text me when something like that's happening because I would have wanted to watch it.
You're usually on it. I know. I took it for granted. I will.
Thank you.
I'll definitely text you in the future.
Yeah, we got back out there this week, I think. I got back out a couple days in, but I wasn't really ready. My legs were pretty tired after that. So
When did I run Friday?
Yeah, you ran Friday.
Yeah, because
so.
it was actually nice and sunny. So I'm like, oh, you got to take advantage of it when it's sunny here.
But we didn't do quite as much running as you did, Lake. So
No.
I did do quite a bit. I got back out yesterday, and I was still feeling a little bit rough. But after about 2 miles, I loosened up a little bit. I was like, all right, I can do the rally for Princess now.
That's right. Well, it's a quick turnaround.
It is a quick turnaround. I mean, it's basically the quickest two together.
Yeah, 5 weeks from today, right? 5, 6.
5 or 6, yeah. It's at the end of February at least.
Right. That's right, Christy. You guys are doing it.
Yeah, she's doing a return to a half marathon.
Oh boy.
Very excited for you.
I wasn't thinking that out clearly.
It's fine.
But it'll be fine.
If I learned anything this weekend, halves are fun, fulls are brutal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even my first full.
Well, yeah, but that was after 3 other races.
Right.
True.
You're not supposed to do a half the day before you're full.
Well, I did it, and I'm going to do it again.
Good for you.
not to mention those 2 o'clock wake ups or whenever it was for you guys.
I'll tell you what, that's what really gets you, honestly. Also, hi, Katie, from the chat.
Hi, Katie.
You guys need to be more efficient. I apparently didn't get out of bed till 3:10 during my race. Now, I didn't have to leave as early for the 10K, but
I'll talk about like our wake up times kind of when we go through that, because we did change after the 10K. But why don't we go ahead and move into our expo experiences? I know we all kind of showed up at the expo at different times and different days, so we're going to have very different experiences. I'll have a whole vlog about our experience, but long story short, we rope dropped the expo, and I did have a question asking what time we got there. We got there at about 8:15, got in line at like 8:20, 8:25-ish. We were in kind of like the first like waiting area. They basically put you back in the gymnasiums in the merch building there, and we were in like the first group of zigzags. So we did sit there for like an hour and a half. It really wasn't bad. It's kind of fun. Everyone's excited. And if you go to the upstairs bathrooms, you can actually go out and like look over where all the merch is and see all of the Club Run Disney people doing their shopping at 9 o'clock. So that was kind of cool. I thought for what time we got there, basically once they started, we got in at like 15 minutes later. I thought that was appropriate for what time we got there. I wouldn't really want to show up any earlier. Any later, though, and we probably would have been waiting significantly longer. So that was cool. We got the merch we wanted. It was definitely wild in there. Lots of people. But everyone was like, it wasn't like people were like angry or just like ripping stuff. People were, trying to wait their turn to get for stuff, but also trying to get in there. But everyone was nice, so it was fine. The mobile checkout for that is phenomenal. They had that for Wine and Dine as well. It applies any of your discounts that you have, which is great. And it made the expo experience much better because you kind of grab your stuff and then give it another second look, try it on, and then go and just scan it right there where you're at. So that was very convenient. As for outside of merchandise, I thought something that was interesting, and it's probably been like this before, I just didn't know. Dopey has like their own check-in area. So when everyone else goes right, when you go in the Visa building there, everyone goes right and goes down the stairs. I went left, and you get your check-in. Same as always, you show them your ID and your check-in, and then your shirts are right there too. So you do all of that at once. So that was very cool. Katie had the issue of the disappearing registrations, which some people have reported. She basically said if that happens, registration just felt exactly the same as before. I'm sure she'll comment on it here. So it really wasn't like an issue at all. She just printed her waiver out there and went along her way just like normal. Other than that, I thought the expo was pretty good. There was definitely more like companies, more brands at the actual expo, I thought. A lot of different equipment. Echelon was there. There was like 3 different brands of like the Theragun style things. So I was happy to see a lot more brands there, and I thought that was pretty cool. The Creases, what about you guys?
So we didn't get there till Friday, and it was pretty. What time did we get there? About 2:00 or
It was
so.
late. Yeah, it wasn't. We didn't rush.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, it was busy. There were people there, but it was really quick getting through. There was like no lines anywhere as far as getting through and getting your numbers. As far as the merchandise goes, I'm not sure how much was really left compared to what you got to see. Like there was plenty of just like the generic stuff, and they had plenty of like just the specific race shirts. Pins were available, so I think the magnets were still available as well.
Right.
So I think that. I'm not sure what else they would have sold out in, I guess. But I thought the expo was really good. I like the mobile checkout, although.
Well, I will say when we were there, the crowd was light enough that we didn't even really pay attention to the mobile. Like it wasn't. There were tons of checkers standing there waiting for us, for just us. So it was kind of the reverse. We didn't really need to do the mobile checkout because it was quick enough to do the other way, but I can see where that would be a huge benefit when there is a crowd.
I'm totally drawing a blank. What's the name of the running company that's down at Disney Springs?
Fit to Run?
Fit to Run,
Yes.
yeah. So Fit to Run had a huge exhibit, and I got some of the sport beans, and they were super cool too because they had people wandering around, and if they saw you with an item, they go, "Hey, do you want to check out?" I said, "Yeah, sure," and they checked you out right there with kind of a mobile device, and so that was. So there's no waiting in line either in the expo part too, outside of the Disney merchandise. So we really enjoyed that.
Yeah, Fit to Run has like the largest real estate in there. Basically, that whole middle row, even though it looks like different blocks, is all Fit to Run, and they just do like they separate everything out by like their brands and products. So they're like your best bet if you forgot something on race day. Usually, Steve, what about you?
Sorry.
I think my name is becoming just a punchline. No, I was in and out. I had my family with me, and I was there Friday. I was there after you guys. I was after Steve, and I was after Steve and Wake. And you already told me like most things were picked over in the merch. And I'm not into a lot of the merch, particularly because I just don't get there the first day, and so anything that's even I think decent is already picked over. So I just went in, I picked my bib up. It was even faster than Wine and Dine. I felt like there was no line at all Friday to get my bib. Went in, got my shirt, and I bought this hat, a runner hat. The first time I had a runner hat, and my other hat had shrunk that I brought with me. There's no prices on things at Fit to Run. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they don't. They don't.
You know what I think they do? So I think I could be wrong, but I think some of the prices vary throughout the whole weekend, and they get cheaper as the expo goes on. And I thought this hat was going to be – this hat was like $27, which is not bad for a run hat because the CL hats – like, is it CL or CLE? Do you know like
I don't know, actually.
It's a French company.
But I know what you're
They're from
talking
Montreal.
about.
I love those run hats. But they can be $35, $40. Like a really good run hat is not cheap at all. And this was significantly cheaper, and there was no price tag on it. There's no price tag on any of the stuff that I looked around, the shoes. And I have seen them before, discount shoes, as you get later in the expo. So, yeah, but the expo was cool. It seemed more significant. There was more booths. I was in and out, and I did not dip into the merch at all. At that point, I think after the first day, like, I think generally there's a lot of the, like, I'm not huge personally into like the I Did It shirts and stuff like that. They're fine. I mean, people like them. I also kind of feel like it's weird to buy an I Did It shirt before I ran because so many things could go wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't do anything. I want to get a shirt that's like, I almost did it. I'll do it tomorrow. Like,
I'm doing it.
Thing tomorrow. You know,
doing it.
I'm about to do it, but I might miss my alarm. You know, like something like that. But yeah, so. But I get it. Like I also I speak from a person that lives an hour away, and then when people come here for these events, it might have been their first, or they may not do it again, and like they just that's how it is. Like that's just Disney for you, you know, as far as merch is concerned. So it was super efficient, better than Wine and Dine, had no issues, in and out. Kids got a churro, and we left. That was about the extent of our experience.
There we go. I do commend your ability to be able to walk by the building there.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of willpower.
I really didn't want to take the whole family inside too. And I know once my kids get around merch too, it's just like, you know, I don't even want to bother. So these races are very expensive as it is. And I'm just try to preserve my capital as much as I can.
Not only that, I think we forget that, like, they are expensive. They do give you some cool stuff. Like the finisher shirts are cool shirts, and you get that really sweet medal or medals depending on what you're running.
Oh,
like, that is pretty cool commemorative items.
I think the medals have gotten better over the 3 years that I've been doing this. Each year, I feel like the medals are better. Whatever their vendor is, I think is better than was a couple years ago. The shirts were better a few years ago, then got terrible, and now are okay, I would say.
Yeah.
They used to use Champion for the shirts. We think we talked about that before. So, and I think this cost them a ton of money to operate. Like, this race cost a ton of money to pay the Orange County Sheriff Department to get all the permits, to close the roads. Like, it is not a cheap race to put on. Plus, we get transportation and so on. So, not a cheap race. Not complaining there. I don't think they skimp you on anything for the most part. So,
we got a good comment for you, Steve. From Jennifer, she says, we wanted I Did It shirts for making it through the expo merch line. We started behind the building, but we're shopping in an hour. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good.
I'll make buttons next year.
Right, you got them though by getting the merch. Like, some of that merch the Spirit jersey. That's your
Gone.
I Did It. Yeah. So if you were a person who wanted that Spirit jersey, that was one of those things that sold out really quick. So I guess that's your form of I Did It.
I think people resell a lot of that stuff just to pay for the cost of their race. Like, good for them. If that's their hustle.
Sadly, I think people resell it not to pay for the cost of the race. People who aren't racing go. They really should, though, the first 3 days until all the racers have arrived. They should not open that to the public. You should have to show a bib, and you can bring in, like, your family, you know, a couple of people, and that should be all. That would be so easy. But Disney, I think, doesn't care who they sell the items to.
No, I do wish they preserved it, because a lot of people like come in for the Goofy, and they come in Friday or Saturday, and I do wish they gave some priority to those folks. You're right,
because we've never been there before,
right? For
Friday,
for Wednesday. So, you know, I want to throw they had some pretty cool photo opportunities around there too. I thought that was kind of cool at the expo. After you walked out of the Run Disney area, where they had a couple different things for the half, the full, the 5K and the 10K, which I hadn't seen that in the past.
That castle that they had was really cool too, in between them all.
Oh,
and then even outside, they had, you know, the usual metal ones, but then they had the ones on the sidewalk. They had one of the, like, step through ones, like we saw at the finish lines. And then Katie also mentioned in the actual expo too, not the Disney merchandise, there were some in there too. They usually put up, like, the posters and the backdrops for you as well as things like the course maps and all of that good stuff. And we did have one more comment from Jennifer, who also said, love the mobile checkout, but they skimmed my purchases and receipt and didn't really go through it all. For us, they just looked at the total number of items and they just counted the items out. They were trying to move it pretty quickly, but it worked for us. But Christy, how about your expo experience?
You and I actually talked about that prior to me going, and I was curious because I am crowd averse. I don't want to be in the crowds. So I actually went on Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday, right? On Wednesday at 7:00. So I got there kind of late. The one thing, because it was so late, I didn't exactly know where to go the whole time. Because there wasn't a ton of people. There was definitely the after work crowd, but there wasn't a ton of people. So they were already out of a lot. I think I FaceTimed, I did, Steve and Wake, so that they could see if there was anything that they wanted that might sell out before they arrived. There was plenty already sold out, but it was a nice experience to get in. I bought a pin and get out without very many people. I also, at the expo, so the general expo, I got taped for the first time by the KT tape people. That is cool. So that they do it for you. You just show up and give them your body parts. And so basically there's still, one lady kind of had her lower butt taped. And I'm like, there's her butt. So they'll tape anything. So anything that hurts while you're running, they will tape for you. Something to keep in mind.
Okay, so I guess I don't know what I see people with it, but I don't know what it does.
It's like that heat.
I don't know why I don't know why I might need it, I guess.
Well, does anything hurt when you're done running? And if not, Steve, you have to flicker. But for us, that has pain after
explain
our run,
this because he does the best job talking about how this.
No,
works.
I love the KT. I love KT tape. We talked about that your knee was bothering you, and so the adhesive on that KT tape, as opposed to an ACE bandage, which is cloth,
right?
It's the same principle, but
holding it in.
Yeah. So if you have it's really great for runner's knee or any inflammation. Any kind of swelling you have, or just nibbles and things, it really works. I mean, if you have a fracture, it's not a hard cast. But if you have some soreness, you see them mostly around people's knees,
right?
That some people, particularly runner's knee or an IT band, that might be bothering them or something like that. And you, Chrissy, you said it. I thought you did it yourself because I sent you a YouTube. Did I send you a YouTube tutorial?
You did.
Get real technical with it, and then I realized that those guys. I was laughing too when you said that because I was like, they should have a tattoo parlor back there too. Get your just a full get your ink and Run Disney tattoo back there, and give them all your body parts.
Well, that literally, I was waiting in the little line, and some ladies was getting her lower back taped. So something about her lower back hurt. And I was just like, oh, she had a Disney cast member mask as well. So I'm like, well, this Disney cast member is just good for her. Good for her.
Some people color coordinate the KT tape with their outfit.
We didn't have
too.
a choice in that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
The tape we got is the tape we got. I think
some polka dots.
I could have gotten polka dots, maybe, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
No, because they didn't have polka dots.
No polka dots, huh?
Pink.
See, Jennifer said she uses KT tape to keep her knee aligned.
Okay.
That's interesting too, because it used to be that you would buy the tape and then get in line,
but you could pick the color. Happening. And I just showed up and I watched people, and you just they're like, well, what hurts? Where does it, where does it hurt? Right?
Help.
And they tape you.
Can you tape my brain? That hurts a lot.
That is still a really good service that they offer at the expo, especially if you know it's there and you need it. So that is great that literally anyone can go and get that done.
And that's what it should be. I mean, it's literally trying to, indoctrinate
their products, right?
Right, exactly.
I'll buy it now.
Yeah, right, exactly. I think it's great. And they had a lot of I don't remember if it was Hypervice or Theragun or whatever. And I saw the folks in there too.
Echelon was there, yeah.
Yeah, Echelon. And people were getting on the bike and getting fitted and trying that out. It felt like Wine and Dine felt like we're in a pandemic expo, and this felt like a full-blown
normal.
This was a good running expo.
Yeah, it was good. It was solid. It was really solid. I was happy with it. And when I was there, it didn't feel crowded. Did you feel crowded for you guys Friday?
No,
I didn't
not
think
at all.
so, no.
No, not at
I
all.
think mine felt, because it was so late, that they wanted to be done. That was, I guess, the only thing.
You bought the KT tape at the expo, or they just?
No, they just did it.
They just did it. Oh, awesome.
That is awesome.
Did you end up buying anything else at the expo?
Yeah, I bought some, because I'm such a slow runner, I did buy some energy chews that I did end up taking half of a package of one. So I bought those. And then, because I was driving and because I didn't do a race bag, I bought one of those little like belts. They're
belts.
Almost like
the flip belts.
Sure.
Like that you can put your stuff in.
Yeah, little tiny zipper. It almost is like nylon material. It was like it wasn't on me the whole time, which was awesome.
Right.
And so, because I was like, I need to put my car keys somewhere. And usually I would have somebody, or I would, back in the olden days, back when I ran this race over a decade ago, there wasn't even cell phones really that you took to the races. So like you usually would leave hello dog. You would leave that. So it was just different to like need to go to a race and have stuff again.
Right.
Yeah. That sounds like everybody had a good experience.
It was really good.
Any other comments from the expo?
Not from the expo, no.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the races. We'll start with the 5K. I was the only one here that ran the 5K, so I'll make this very quick. Very standard 5K. It was just the regular Epcot course. Only thing to note is, just like if you ran the 5K at Wine and Dine, the buses are on the opposite side of the Epcot parking lot, unlike where they are for the rest of the races. That did cause some confusion because they left the signs up saying this is where you get the buses. Yeah, just a little side waiver there. Other than that, very standard 5K, a lot of fun. The only thing that was a little bit annoying was this was the first day where they tried the new security measures, which we all got to experience. Basically, instead of doing the old bag check from Run Disney, you now go through Epcot security scanners. And they were just not ready at the time they needed to be ready. Now, this was the only day we had that issue, though. But when we got off the bus, it was like a big weaving line if you take the resort buses to Epcot in that area. So that was a little bit frustrating, but it did move pretty quick. It was like 15 minutes to get through. Other than that, 5K was fun. It was great weather. I won't take up a whole lot of time. If anyone has any questions about it, we can always circle back to that. Only thing I will note, and I think a lot of us saw it, was the Harmonious barges were like doing things during the races, which was pretty cool. The 5K was very prominent because it was nighttime for anyone at that point still in there. So they had like a marathon weekend logo, and then it would switch with the race that was going on. So there was specifically like a 5K Pluto logo going on there as well. So that was pretty cool.
The video from the 5K?
5K is not out yet. 10K video comes out tomorrow. I worked my way backwards.
Okay.
Just because the full and the half are kind of the ones people really
Did you record the whole 5K?
I've got a good amount of it, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I probably have like 20 minutes of the 30 minutes it took us to run it.
I thought it was cool that they had the barges going.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and move on from that. And we're going to move into the 10K. Just a couple notes from this. This ran a new 10K course, at least new to me, and I think most of us here, where you started at Epcot, you ran down the highway to Hollywood, and then you basically ran like the usual half marathon finish, going through Hollywood and out the back. However, the section of Hollywood was different. Instead of going up around... what's the show? Fantasmic. You went the other way around Tower of Terror, so you saw that backside of Tower of Terror, and you ran in by that Cars experience we all forget's there, and then you go by what is that? Rock and Roller Coaster. Right? Did anyone was like, oh yeah, you go in by that Cars thing? Like, have we seen that?
I mean, I saw the show because I had a son addicted to the Cars franchise. So,
exactly.
But did we remember that was there until I brought it up?
No, it's just like the thing that you notice when you get in line for a rock and roller coaster. That's about it.
But now that it's off, I was like, oh yeah, we ran by those cars.
But other cool thing was you ran all the way down Sunset Boulevard, and then you ran all the way down the other main street of Hollywood there, which we haven't done in a very long time. I think it was like the first Star Wars race maybe that we did that. Not the first one, maybe the second one. So that was very cool. But I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Christy to talk about her 10K experience.
So I think, one thing we should talk about, because I think as a listener, I would be interested in this, especially before Princess starts, is the corral situation. I thought Disney did a great job of having giant corrals for you to wait in. So as usual, tons of toilets, porta potties to go to, tons and tons. And in one section, there was actually a sink in water. So like I went to the bathroom there and got to wash. I was like, oh, this is so fancy. But then in the other section, there wasn't. But if you're closer to Epcot, there was actually water and soap and everything. So, but then you go and you line up and you get in the big giant corrals. And there's tons of space if you want it. So like lots of people go forward. I stayed back and didn't have anybody anywhere near me. So my girlfriend that I ran with, yes.
What time did you park and what time did you get into the corrals?
So I parked at 3:30. No, it had to be 3:45, 3:40, because I left my house at 3:30. So 3:45-ish. Driving in was super easy, except that I kind of feel like they were closing the exit. So if you're coming from the Magic Kingdom Resort area and going towards Epcot, I'm pretty sure I drove through barricades because they were starting to barricade it. And I looked at this guy. I'm like, am I allowed to be here? Okay, I'm just driving. Because, otherwise it was going to add a ton of time. So then from there, I just drove right in. It was there wasn't any cars because I'm pretty sure I drove through a barricade. But it wasn't like fully barricaded yet. And I know that some of the roads in that area were closing after 4. So, but that was for marathon weekend. So that's something that they noted that, these roads are going to be closed. So you have to get through them before they close, which is something to note if there are locals or people that are coming from not Disney property, which obviously I guess people know this, but maybe you don't think about it. If you are coming to be a spectator, you have to get in before those roads close, because then there's no hope for you. You have to like go all the way around by Disney Springs to get in. So I don't know really what time I got into the corrals, but people weren't like, we made it all. It was all very quick. Long walks everywhere. Like, I'm pretty sure we did a 5K before we ever made it to the start
Just
line.
wait for Princess.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I do remember that from 12 years ago, but, so tons of space in the corral, but then when you get to, the starting line, that's where your space ends. So just first something for people to know. I was able, because again, I'm crowd averse, stay on the edge. So I could hug that edge that doesn't go up against other people in the corral and had a little bit more space. There was just this whatever. But other than that, that was great. The race was fun. Running it with somebody was super fun because during the boring parts where you're running through the highways and stuff, you don't really notice that you're on a boring road. So, because you're just having a conversation and talking and, stuff like that. So that made it more fun.
Very cool. Give me like one memorable character or favorite character from it.
I'm the worst at characters. I know I stood for Judy for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes or something. She went and took a break. So we were, my girlfriend really wanted to see her and I didn't want to run alone. So I waited in line and the rest of them, we just sort of would take a picture. She would take a picture as we were passing. I like the characters as entertainment, but like something that you might not experience when you're in the back of the pack, the lines are very long for characters. I watched your marathon run through and you literally wait for like a person or two, get up, take your picture. Oh, hi. and then are on your way, thanking everybody. The rest of us have stood in that line for 75 minutes. So
Right.
our experience is a little different.
You're not
kills your
bitter.
time.
You're not
Kills your
bitter.
time.
It kills your time, doesn't it, Christy?
It did. My time was never going to be good, but it was way worse.
That's funny.
So, something to note for the back of the Packers. Oh, and my roads were way more crowded than Lake's too. So, when you're watching those videos, if you're in the back of the pack, little note
All
things to
different
keep in mind.
Yeah,
So.
those lines do actually tend to get long, especially once you get that first 2 or 3 start groups out there already.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
So
think.
it was great. I'm super happy. I hadn't run 6 miles in a very long time. And you know what my most memorable moment, though, was seeing you at the finish line.
Oh,
before the finish
Make me
Look at
blush
that.
over here.
Well, for real, I was
Oh, my
unexpected, and
God.
you were just there. It was really special.
You
I
guys
was
cried?
there. I was very excited.
Did you embrace?
We did one time.
After
And we
once you get
refound
all
each
the way
other.
through the whole walk, and you get all your medal and your blanket and your Gatorade or
Your
Powerade.
plastic cheese, which I had 0 gluten reactions to, so it is celiac safe
I think
There we go.
it's because it's not real food.
food. Yeah. And I ate it 5 days later. So if I
Oh,
had a
I
reaction,
ate it right away. I love the fake cheese.
You are brave.
Yeah, I was like,
That's
it
the whole
doesn't-
reason that I run these races is because I get
For the
the fake
fake
cheese at the end.
Oh, there we go.
I love it.
Breaking news there.
It's
You can
so
buy
good.
tubs of it at Dollar General.
Well,
I think
that ruins it.
Yeah.
I want it to be special.
you're right. You're right.
Oh,
Jennifer says,
Sheldon was
I was
near
kick-
me. Yeah,
Yep, she
sorry.
said I was kicking myself because I didn't say anything to Christy in her awesome Castaway hat. She was near me in the crowd. I didn't even realize it was her. And
I was
then
wearing a face mask,
Katie
so-
says, one day I'll wear the camera and show the masses in the back. And Kara S says, good to know it was celiac safe. Hello, fellow celiac. And hello, Kara.
Chrissy, what jacket is that, by the way? Random.
This is the mini Disney Cruise Line. And I think it says on the back Disney Cruise Line. And it's got the little...
Is that new?
No.
Oh, okay. That's really cool. Sorry, if you're
Thank you.
if you're
No, that's
listening
okay.
to this, it has anchors and polka dots on the hood. That's really neat.
And embroidery, which you can't really see, but it's...
How much Chris Bright must be very, very, very jealous of that jacket.
I know, he might steal it. Oh, he's way too tall. So maybe he won't
If it
actually
was Captain
steal it.
Mini, if it was
Right.
Captain Mini, it would disappear in a heartbeat.
Well, and there's no actual mini because I refuse to buy, although I wonder if it's on the back. I refuse to buy now where she's just cruise director mini. We took a turn, people. A little too DCL podcast here.
All right, bring it back. Any other
Right.
notable moments from the 10K?
No, it went really fast.
All right. I will add for the 5K and 10K, I got on the bus at 3:30. For the 5K, we got in the corral in plenty of time. We got in the corral for the 10K, and for start 1, it moves pretty early. And we stepped foot into the 10K, and my buddy Steve, also Steve,
So many
was like,
Steves.
"Oh, I'm going to do a quick warm up," and he started running, and then the corral was moving. So we were like, oh, "Okay, we're going to need to show up earlier for the half tomorrow." But 3:30 for the bus for the 5 and 10K was pretty solid for us.
I feel like you're showing off again. Bragging. Oh, I just got in the corral and started running.
Well, no, it
While
wasn't
the
like
rest of us are
that.
standing
What happens
there
is
on
start
concrete
1
for a half
is the
hour.
furthest one from the start.
Yeah.
So they move you early. Yeah.
As
Anyways.
opposed to standing still on concrete for a half hour. What could possibly go wrong with your body during that period of
Or
time?
more.
Chrissy's
I
gonna
can
wear
hear my
a
wife
jetpack in the
laughing.
next race to get ahead to the characters and just fly over you and just, look at me. There's no line.
I know I have to work. I need to figure out a way to come up with a faster speed so I can get in that earlier corral.
We can work
Yeah,
on that.
Okay, Lake. Training
Jennifer
by
also
Lake.
says buses started earlier than posted, 2:45 before 3 a.m. at Pop. Tons of buses, well done. I was also at Pop. I had the same experience. I have a video of the buses waiting to pick people up, going from where they pick you up, at the bus area, waiting all the way out, down towards where the the security guy is. That's how many buses they had waiting at Pop. I was very impressed with that. But I guess that's going to about do it for the 10K. The only other note I have was the 10K posted 10,513 finishers this year.
Wow.
I wasn't last. I did have to check that out.
You have the numbers for all the races.
I do, except the 5K, because the 5K is not timed, they don't post finishers. Mm-hmm. But I do have the other races.
Can I backtrack for 1 second before I leave?
Absolutely.
I am so sorry. I even made a note, which I forgot to look at when we were talking about the expo, but this is important for Princess if this rule still exists. I had to swap out my shirt because, as many people, and it doesn't apply to men, but women know, the sizing doesn't always make sense for us. So I didn't know, like, women's fit, whether it would be the women's fit where I have to order 17 sizes more than I usually am or what. So my shirt was too big and I went to swap it, which I was able to do. But because there was another shirt swap counter that I could go to. When I went there, I touched the shirt I gave them, but then I touched the shirt I was looking to swap to see if it was the right size. And they were like, you have to keep that now. You've touched it.
What?
And I'm like, did I lick it? Like, what? Literally, I said those words because I was a little bit surprised. And so COVID, for some reason, because I have touched the shirt that the people touched to give it to me 5 seconds ago, I couldn't swap it again. It wasn't a problem. It was my size. The sizing worked out, but I guess make them touch it. I don't know, but just keep that in mind.
Shirts.
Don't touch the shirt if you're swapping the shirt.
But
Right.
you can go to the expo and touch everything and put it back up there.
You can have your face hanging out in the same building that I wasn't allowed to touch the shirt. So
That's weird. That's super weird.
that
I think that's strange.
I think it's important for people that might have a shirt size discrepancy situation. So.
The shirts are like so poorly sized and cut, and each one is different too. So just make note. There's no consistency with those shirts at all.
I will say for this particular race, in theory, in life, I'm typically a extra large in like shirts, whatever, large, extra large, and in a tech race shirt situation, I'm an extra large, and I was an extra large in this scenario. So for people out there that need that experience or need that information for the future. So sorry we backtracked, but
No, it's quite all right. That was a good point to make. I hadn't heard anyone say anything about the shirt swap stuff this year.
yeah. So awesome that they had it. Just don't touch it.
Don't touch the shirts, guys.
And on that note, good night,
I believe, we're going to move on from the 10K, and we're going to lose Christy here.
Okay.
So, Christy, thanks so much for coming on the show. We
Thanks for
really
having me.
appreciate having you here, and we hope you had a good time at your 10K, and we'll see you at Princess. What are you
Yes,
running
you
at
will.
Princess?
Oh my God. What was I thinking? I need all the good thoughts. I was like, I'm going to run a challenge and challenge myself. So I am running the challenge, the 10K and the half. It should be an experience. Fortunately, lots of walking is allowed to occur at Run Disney events. And so I'm assuming that the second half of the half marathon will have lots of walking.
You'll be all right.
So
You'll be all right. You got it.
This one won't
It's
be
fun.
for time.
I love the halves. I think they're the best value in Run Disney, to be honest.
Well, look at that. I've saved money.
I'm not talking about saving money. It's still expensive as I get out.
All right.
I
Good night,
just think the
everybody.
product you get is very well worth it.
I mean, it's cool. You get to run through the castle. Who doesn't love running? Like, that's a dream, right? To shoot through the castle, run down Main Street like I'm a winner.
It's pretty surreal.
It's pretty, yeah.
It is pretty surreal.
It is. It's like the most hype part of those races that get
It
to
is.
run through MK.
Yeah, for sure. Which you guys get to talk about now for your half marathon.
We do. We do. All right. So
Cheers, Christy.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye, Christy.
both Steve, and Wake have waited their turn. So I won't say a whole lot about the half. We got plenty of people here to say all that needs to be said. This was easily my favorite race from the weekend. It was awesome. I had so much fun. Part of that was being able to see everyone and hang out with everyone. I got to start the race and run a little bit with Steve Creasy before he blew me away in the race.
There's more to the story than that, but we'll get to it.
But I will go ahead and hand it off to the Creases and let them talk about their experience.
Well, and I'm going to let Anawik talk about it because it was really more her experience because she blew it away.
Oh my God, she crushed it.
She crushed it.
Crushed it.
This was the first half marathon I've ever actually trained for. Usually I can muddle through, and if as long as I'm running regularly. And 2 years ago was dismal because I didn't run at all before it. So I was bound and determined that this time I was actually going to train for it and see how good I could do. And kind of as the training kept going, and I was like, wow, I was sort of shocked at how fast I was running my training runs. I'm like, I think I can maybe make a goal for this. And actually, so my goal was to run it in under 2 hours, and I did. So I felt pretty proud of myself with that.
Very modest. Come on, give me what you were like. What you placed in your group in your?
I was 12th in the old lady group.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which my kids were like, how many people were there? 12, and I was like, no, there were 675 people actually.
Right. That's
in my
right.
group. So,
No need to be humble. 12th out of 675. That's really incredible.
I feel happy about that.
She also did stop for at least one picture too.
Two.
So.
I stopped for 2 pictures.
2. There we go.
You stopped for 2 pictures and still ran that time?
But again, I didn't have to wait for anybody. They were like what Christy was saying. I stopped and I was going to take a selfie with the castle behind me, and there was a volunteer standing right there, and she said, "Oh, I'll take that for you." So that didn't really take much time. And then right at the very end, I think he was the very last character, but our younger son, his favorite movie and Disney character is Bolt. And right at the very end, Bolt was right around the corner, and there was nobody standing in line. I was like, oh, well, I have to, I knew at that point that that I had some time to give. So I definitely have to get a picture with Bolt. So
12th in the half marathon. Wonderful, Mom. Look at this. Look what's happening. That's pretty cool. I did that Bolt. That was a very rare character. I felt
totally. Yes. Nobody really knows Bolt. So, well, and we also I guess there's a little bit more to the story too. So, 2 years ago?
Make this one quick.
So yes, November of 2019, we lost Bolt at one of the Disney resorts, and so that was also part of why our son stuffed Bolt. And so when I saw him, I was like, "Oh, I found Bolt. We definitely have to take a picture of him." So there was a little bit, more of the story.
That's awesome.
I think, like you said, Blake, I think the half is just amazing because you get the 2 parks. There is one kind of boring section on it, but the other thing that you were kind of worried about was you wanted to be able to see the castle at night, which you've never been able to see before. And starting at 5 versus 5:30 for even
really helps that.
Yeah, the because you were in Corral 3, so you weren't too far back, but you were able to see the castle at night, which is, I think, kind of one of the spectacular parts of running and Run Disney, I think.
Right.
So, but what else? Anything else stand out for you for the run? I guess that was one of the questions you had was so she was a little bit worried because she was running faster. She was starting in Corral 3, how the crowds would be. How were the crowds as far as...
Actually, because they were doing mini starts within the corral, it actually was fine. The first probably mile and a half was sort of the thinning out of the crowd, and so that was slower. But then after that, it was pretty open, so that was good to know.
Yeah, it was. I mean, obviously, it was definitely open up where Lake was running and Steve, and it was super fun to run with you guys too as well. And yeah, I did finish in front of you, but you guys stopped at every character stop. I didn't stop. So.
We did get everyone but one, I think.
I think I would have been chasing you the whole time, but it was a really good marathon. I think the temperature was really good.
Yes,
there was a lot
not
of
too hot, not too cold.
I thought. I mean, I felt like the characters were spot on. I liked the fact that.
I like the DJs.
Yeah, the DJs, they had plenty of DJs out there. But I think that each one of the character stops that they do have, they do a really good job of creating a scene for them. And I think that's kind of a cool thing that kind of keeps you motivated as you go, what's around the next corner? So, I thought it was a great race.
I agree.
Great. Anything else from you, Wake? Any other thoughts?
No, I don't think so. I think, it's a good, they're always fun. It's always a good, positive, feel good kind of crowd. So that it makes for a good race.
Yeah, and you ran. It was someone asked in the comments. It was a 150.
157.34.
That's awesome. You crushed it. You did so awesome.
Thanks.
I'll pay for that tattoo if you want to get it. I'll pay.
Next time.
All
right. And Steve E, what about you? What are your thoughts from the race? Other than his outfit was on point.
I try to color coordinate. Hence why I bought this hat to match my shoes. Because I feel like nothing else would go right that day for me, so I might as well look okay. It was great. We got up. I barely slept. I think you guys didn't even sleep at all. I just did not sleep well. We stayed at Copper Creek. We had the oh god,
on point. Yeah. I'm telling you.
Oh, there you go. Look at that guy. So we got up. Oh my god, the electrical pageant parade. We talked about this.
Yeah,
I'm falling asleep.
Twice. It came by twice.
9 o'clock comes by. It was so loud in the room. We were both at the same. I think we were both facing poolside, right? The main pool out, and I was like, it was so loud that we had white noise in our room because the kids were asleep too. And I wasn't even thinking about myself. I was like, oh my god, please don't wake up the kids. And they slept through it. And once I was like, got myself to start to fall asleep, and that went off, I could not go back to bed for the life of me. I probably get about 3 hours of sleep. But then the adrenaline comes, and then, the copious energy drinks that I downed at 2:45 in the morning because I didn't want to make any noise to actually set off the coffee pot. We had a studio at Copper Creek for the night, so I was like, met you guys down in the lobby. Your brother was there and his partner, which was awesome. And bus was right there. We got over probably to the event around what time we see you? Just after 3:15?
It was really quick. It was like about 3:15 or so.
Right.
I mean, it was pretty fast.
We had checked in our bags and done everything we needed to do, and it was still like 3:40.
Yeah.
We were all like, "Oh, now what are we gonna do?"
Yeah, it's just the worst part of this is the walk. I mean, it's a very, very long walk to the corrals.
Yeah.
For this event. So like if you have to kind of go to the bathroom before you leave the main stage and main, area before you check your bags and all that stuff, and you got to go to the corral, you better go and use a porta potty before you head over to the corrals. I saw people hopping the fence out of their corrals to get out to go to the bathroom. Over there, because it's just it's just a weird setup when you're leaving from Epcot, not TTC. I do prefer, like, I love the half as a distance. I've never done a full, so I mean I have that to compare it to, but I think it's challenging enough where you don't have to kill yourself completely in a training unless you're absolutely after a time. That like you could just get some good decent long runs out there and just get some time on your feet and still have fun. I think about this as like golf. Like golf is no fun to me if I'm just terrible. You know what I mean? It's just horrible to be out there and doing it. It's like you described, Wake. Like if the half is like enough to keep you honest. If you don't train, you're going to be in some trouble.
Yeah.
So and for me personally, I was just like in such like dire straits with my foot had been really bothering me. I was literally limping. I told you guys like a week before this race, I was legit limping to walk. And the fact that I finished after 4 ibuprofen was very, very, this is my most proud that I've been of all the events. Cause I finished. As for the event itself was great. It was really great. I've realized that all these events, I don't think, for me personally, like Run Disney is like the PRPB place, although Wake will say differently and maybe you other guys. But as far as like a community event, I don't think there's a better Disney event than Run Disney. You can give up your annual passes. You can not go to your parks every year. Your kids can kind of like age out of the experience, if you will, or you just don't want to do this as your chosen vacation. And I see people that have been running together for a very long time that were so happy to see each other for this event. That's the most inspiring thing. It's I don't even know if it's just like the tradition of it for people that are coming from all parts of the country. They're like, "Oh my god, I haven't seen you in 2 years." And
2 years, yeah.
We costume coordinate, and we, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just so much fun for them. So, this is, there's no other event that brings people together, I think, with Disney as a muse than the Run Disney events year after year. So it's so fun to just look around and see, like, look at this women probably been running together for extremely long time. They've coordinated their outfits. They're super pumped to be here. And so the energy was really, really good. And then the spectators out on Main Street and running through the castle. It is a very, very surreal experience to do that. It's coming down and like high-fiving people down Main Street. It's a lot of fun. The race to me starts at mile 7 during the half. Like, it really begins at that point, because that's when you're kind of going through, you're out on the road, you're out through the ramps, you're not going through any parks. The next park you see is around mile 11, through Epcot. So
yeah, basically.
That 4 mile stretch to me is rough. I thought they did a good job. They do a pretty good job of putting some entertainment out there. Was the Animal Kingdom band out there? What are they? The folks that they?
I didn't see them.
No.
Yeah.
Talking about the Society of Explorers.
Yeah, were they out there? Like,
They were at the Fool. I don't recall.
Okay,
them
so
at
then
the
I
half,
saw
though.
that maybe in your video, which was really neat. So it's like getting the deep cuts in there and the entertainment, the high school marching bands and stuff. Everybody out on Grand Floridian Way that was trying to find a way to spectate over there was really cool. Very fun. I died around mile 10 and made it home. I was like texting you guys, like, save a beer for me, which I couldn't find you, and Steve did not have a beer for me.
But you bought one for me, and I got the cup. I'm drinking out of the cup that you bought it from. So thank you so much, Steve.
No, that's the highlight of the weekend.
Yeah,
After that. My family, they stayed back at the hotel. They usually come to the finish line. I just didn't want them out in crowds. We didn't go to parks that day. They just chilled back at the hotel, and then we went out to Geyser Point. That was so much fun.
Yeah,
to hang out with you guys. And so just seeing all you guys getting to the finish line, being able to do it, a lot of fun. Wine and Dine probably still my favorite, but this was like fully back for me. Wine and Dine was like a little bit of a Run Disney light sort of event. I felt like the starting groups and stuff were they were experimenting maybe a little bit, figuring out what they could do. Expo the energy wasn't there nearly as much, but this was like fully back. People were into it. So it was a great event. It was awesome seeing everybody. Yeah, I mean, you can watch
normal.
What's that week?
Felt normal.
It felt good. It felt good. Like it's just, I love running in that sense. Like, it's just good to get out there for a couple hours and not think about anything else, except the pain and suffering in your body.
Except for now, I wonder what that KT tape would be. Like, what can we use that for?
Every step on my right foot hurt. It was so much fun.
Right.
All I know is that Lake and I've got our work cut out to costume coordinate with you for the next race, Steve. So
I tried. Like,
I told you all I was going to buy us matching shorts.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm almost at the point where I just want to almost get a little bit more into the matching and coordinating of the outfit stuff. I'm there with it. We've got a good group of people that we met up with.
Yeah.
My good friend Peter, you guys know, you met Lake, you guys know, and his wife was out there, and he runs the Dopey event. He runs for American Cancer Society. So it was just a lot of fun. I just had a blast. It was a lot of fun. You guys made the weekend. Good stuff. Got to meet Wake.
There was one question when we go back. Kim asked where were we staying at Copper Creek, and so if anybody stays at Copper Creek, just ask for the rooms that face the quiet pool.
Yeah,
because the ones that face the main pool, I mean, you could hear the fireworks, and then the what's it called, the water pageant went by twice. I don't think we didn't sleep at all that night.
No,
so
and I think
it was just an all nighter we pulled.
And actually, like the fireworks, and then the water pageant goes by the first time at 9, and that wasn't horrible. But when it went by at 11, we were like, oh my God.
Yeah. Please make it stop. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to die.
Yeah. I will say, I think the ESPN Worldwide Sports so close to Pop and, that row, it's kind of nice being over there, and
like it.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. And that, you're paying a little less for some of the rooms and, considering you're waking up at like 2:30 in the morning, I mean, who cares where you sleep if you're not really even going to sleep at all?
Right.
Especially, I didn't even go to the parks. You guys did on Monday, but yeah. So I think, anywhere you can get Disney transportation, but if you're in the thick of it all, if you're if you're on the monorail loop, if you're maybe even at the boardwalk, you're going to hear some noise. You're going to hear the fireworks. If you're trying to sleep, could make it a little bit difficult depending on where your room is. I mean, was it loud? But but again, I was trying to sleep at 9:00.
Right.
Usually, So I'm gonna hand it over to you guys though for the marathon.
Yeah. Any other thoughts from the half?
I guess one quick thing that I did notice, because we looked at like how many people had finished and what age groups they were all and all that kind of stuff. There were probably close to 10 in the over 80 category.
Really?
So I think that speaks to the, like you're talking about, it's a community and like people who come back year after year after year to run together. There were definitely, I was kind of amazed that there were that many.
Yeah.
In the over.
So we got a long time to look forward to this.
We got a long time to go.
We've got about 5 more years, and Lake's got about 55 more years.
Right.
And I have about 10. So
Right.
We did have 12,699 finishers for the half marathon, which is the most of any of the races this weekend.
Wow.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. Before we move on, we did have a couple comments coming through. I believe that's Al Nava says hi. We answered where he's staying, and then Julia Gomez says hi, and he said, I was S1 on marathon weekends. Welcome to the fun club.
Oh man, I gotta get an S1 or S2. I was an S3. Steve, you're an S2, right?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I was an S1 this time.
No,
I don't know. They messed up my time or something like that.
Pardon me. I'm sorry.
I was in the back part. Like, yeah. So.
Yeah, I will say if you're with people too, I could not. Wake and your brother-in-law that you were with, I could not get to you guys a little bit ahead of me. Crowd was packed. I used the restroom real quick and tried to wiggle my way through, and it was like, there's no way I'm going to find you. No way. So stick with your peoples.
Right. Don't get separated.
Yes.
All right, and I believe we might be losing Wake here.
Yeah.
Wake, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your experience from the half.
Bye, Wake.
It is always a pleasure to get to talk to you and see you. And yeah, we hope to talk to you again soon. Bye. All right, and that moves us into the big one. I called in some help here from our first-time marathoner. Everyone, if you've watched our channel, this is my wife, Katie. Hello. So us two
Super
are
proud.
the only two here that did the marathon this weekend. Me as part of Dopey, and she, as I said, did her first marathon as just the marathon because I would not let her do Dopey or Goofy with her first marathon.
Yes.
Yeah, I am very excited to hear this. I'm shutting up now.
But yeah, so I mean, first off, the toughest race of the weekends. Twice the distance to the half marathon. Like I said, half marathon was a blast, a lot of fun.
Warm.
I felt it on this one.
It was very hot.
It was hot too, especially for Katie as well.
Yeah, it felt really good for about the first half of my race, which is Lake's full race, because he is twice as fast as I am, literally. But once the sun came up, there were no clouds, and it did get really, really toasty out there. But yeah, it was my first time. I don't know. Do you want to talk about your race and then my race, or?
Yeah, I'll go through very quickly. I do have a video of pretty much my entire race. It's like an hour and 20 minutes long. So enjoy that. Watch it on the treadmill. That's like basically what it's made for. I mean, overall, the race was good. I did terrible, and I felt pretty terrible after like mile 10. That's because I was undertrained. That's 100% the reason.
You didn't do terrible. Jesus.
I felt pretty terrible. That like last 6 miles was a slug.
That's the halfway point right there too, right? Like right around mile 20.
Basically.
Yeah. So yeah, you did a good job. I mean, it's a long weekend, first time doing Dopey, getting up so early in the morning and everything like that. Plus, I think it was like almost 80 by the end of the race that day. I mean, you were done before that, but Katie was facing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And definitely that mile, like basically mile 18 to like 23. So after you exit Animal Kingdom and before you get to Hollywood is all just, that whole section is just all communally the worst. There's like a part where you're running uphill into the sun for like a whole mile. And then they cut out the Blizzard Beach part where you were weaving through the park, which I hated. So I was glad they cut it out. But they made you run a square in the parking lot, and they set it up as like a big aid station, basically, with like that's where you got your fuel. They had gels out and all of that, which was a good idea in theory, but you're still running a square through the parking lot.
With the loudest DJ in the world. Like the loudest
it was
music
loud.
Blasting.
At what mile was that? 20?
That would have been right before 20.
19, yeah.
But no, you didn't. You guys, no Wide World of Sports, right? No. Okay, that was cut.
And I was happy. I mean, I've never ran that course, but I think I would have preferred this course to that one. But that's just me speculating.
Yeah,
I do think I prefer this course to the last one, and I probably prefer both of these to the original ESPN one.
Yeah.
Did you see some folks at the medical tents and aid stations with the heat?
So after the halfway point is when I really started noticing lots of people stopping at the aid tents, lots of people honestly just choosing to sit down on the grass, and we were always like, "Are you okay?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm just sitting." So a lot of people were just doing that. They handed out sponges around miles 17 to all the runners. But Lake said he didn't see this. After that, there were 2 points where they were also just tossing out bags of ice, which was great. People were, had them on their heads. They were just like wiping. It was really bad. And then a little further on, I did start seeing a lot of people who were truly passed out and had medical aid coming to them. I saw a full-on stretcher situation. It was intense. I've seen people need medical attention during the house before, but nothing like this. It was a whole different scenario.
Man, two of the last in-person events in 2020 and with 2022. I mean, 2020 they shortened the race and same kind of, it wasn't as humid this time as it was 2 years ago, but I was tracking you and I'm outside and I'm like, God, I would not want to be in this.
You could just see in my times just how like it's slowing down. And probably half the reason was the heat and half the reason was I was starting to just be in pain for other reasons. But
I mean, it's very, I mean, as you know, like after 65, 70 degrees, it's uncomfortable. That's an uncomfortable place to be. And for you running dopey, like, the compound, as much as you try to hydrate and stuff, it's hard, Yeah.
And there was two water stops, one where they were completely out of Gatorade, and then one where they only had Gatorade on one side of the road, and I was on the wrong side to like get over to it. They weren't right next to each other water stops. They were, kind of spread out, so I was still able to get Gatorade after that. But I think that's notable that it was that hot.
Did you carry anything with you? What did you take for the race?
I didn't carry any water. I took a pack of the Honey Stinger chews. I just took one because I knew they would be giving us the same kind on the course.
Yeah.
Which is what I train with, and I really like those, and they're easy to chew. I also took a couple packs of the Cliff blocks that I started training with, mostly because our running store was having some stocking issues with the Honey Stingers, so I got those to try something new.
Yeah.
One of them was an extra sodium, one of them was an extra caffeine, and one of them was just regular. Those worked.
Yeah.
I only actually ended up using the sodium pack. I still have the other two. And then I brought a bag of pretzel sticks, just because during my training runs, I knew that after about 15 miles, I always wanted something salty or carby. So I just stuck those in my pocket. I did eat a couple, and it was helpful. But that's all I ran with. So.
Did you see people giving out some stuff on the course?
Yes, I definitely saw some. One guy did little bags of gummy bears, gummy worms, and he actually put them in individual bags and was handing them to people, which I thought was actually pretty considerate, because I think, communal things that people were holding probably weren't very sanitary. Jars of pretzels. Someone over at Boardwalk, this isn't a thing, giving out, had their dog and was letting people stop and pet the dog, which I appreciated.
That is cool. So cool. The marathon is amazing.
Yeah. And then at one point, at one of the water stops, they were just letting people take the big Dasani water bottles because we were all very tired and thirsty.
Yeah. Wow.
So people were taking those, pouring them on their heads and stuff. Yeah.
Would you have done anything like differently? Would you take, because I saw a lot of people with like the Nathan vest and bringing hydration. I bring a little water bottle, like a handheld, because I like to put some stuff in there. But
yeah, we have the same one that you have, and I've run with it a couple of times. At Disney, I don't know if I would.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. I'd have to think about it. Maybe next time I'll try running with the little handheld one. As far as differently, in the second half of the race, when it got really hot and when I started to get tired and sore, my brain definitely started to go a little bit. I think that tends to happen. And I definitely lost track of fueling, and I did not fuel enough in the second half of the race just because there's so much going on. So that's something I would do differently, is stick to that a little bit better, because I think that would have helped a little bit. And then I was thinking about this way after the fact about, because they have pain like pills
at the aid stations.
They have aspirin and stuff. I feel like maybe I should have stopped and taken some at one point. I think I was a little nervous about doing that, but I was in a lot of pain, so it might have helped.
Yeah.
To the finish line.
I always think about these things like, what went first for you guys, legs or lungs?
My lungs never went. It was my legs.
Legs.
Yeah.
Legs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to keep like a good breathing was like the only thing that kept me really going.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys in any of the races that you've run Disney or not, done like any of the BioFreeze or any of that?
I have BioFreeze. I've never stopped at the aid stations for it. At there, I see people just caking them on themselves. I think it can help you like temporarily get you through. I found BioFreeze though, when you're sweating and when you're already in pain, like it's kind of like maybe like a 5-10 minute acute fix. But I carried some anti-inflammatory. I took ibuprofen like halfway through for me, because I was hurting a little bit, but I would say, again, it's one of those things, if you haven't done it like on a training run, just be really careful. Practice and then, execute kind of when you're out there. But nothing can prepare you for your first marathon when it's, 78 degrees at 10 o'clock. I mean, that's, they do this marathon in January for a reason, because the expectation is it's going to be fairly temperate. I mean, I felt like the weather for us on the half on Saturday was great, and yet still somewhat warm.
Look at, I know Steve, you're in Tampa. I almost called you Tampa Steve, but like the weather we're having right now is 20, 30 degrees cooler than 1 week ago. Like it's tell. Yeah.
Princess 2 years ago was the coldest I'd ever experienced since we lived here.
It was really cold.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we were just like dancing in the crowd to try to stay warm. It was the only time I had taken a sweatshirt and thrown it away, and thrown it out before we started. And I didn't feel warm until about mile 1-2 in there. It was cold. I like it that. I mean, you're gonna run better if it's on the cooler side than the warmer side, So, but you had grit. I could not believe when I was tracking you, and I I was texting Steve, and I don't think I texted you too much late because I didn't want to bother you, but I was like,
he was running.
You gritted it out. You really did.
Yeah. We were super proud of you, Katie. Oh, both of you guys, but especially
Katie. We all should be very proud of her because, I can be like, oh, yeah, that was a tough marathon. I was still done in 4 hours and 20 minutes. All those people that are still out there when the sun is out, when it's beaten down, and like you guys said, are gritting out, that last 15, 10, 6 miles, like that's where the real show is. Like y'all are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
I've never heard like this. This is the first race where I technically finished after the balloon ladies. They passed me in the straight, like as we were approaching the finish line, they went past me.
Oh no.
Which, I mean, I honestly thought I wasn't going to finish. I thought that they would catch up with me somewhere like between 20 and 23, and I would probably get swept. So just the fact that I kept moving was really good. And I kept running. The last time I ran was like in mile 25. So
that's great.
But
you can get to a point where you cannot move anymore. Like you can get to a point where you're physically shut down. I mean,
it happened about 20 yards after the finish line.
I mean,
the finish line.
Yeah, I told my wife, I was like, I went through mile 11 and being like, it feels like lead is in my legs right now. It feels like I'm running with concrete in there. So it was very inspiring to watch you pass that and get through the finish line. It was awesome. I was glad you got your medal. You finished, and if you're crazy enough, you'll do it again. So
I'm gonna do it again because I have to do better now. Like I'm like, all right, we did it once, now we got to do it better. So we're gonna do that again.
That is one huge thing about your first marathon is you learn so much about doing a marathon, and it's almost like a deconstructive process because like you're doing these races and you're almost like know what's going wrong in slow motion, and you're like, oh, I should have, maybe I should have fueled 5 miles ago or 30 minutes ago, or I should have brought more fuel, or
not forgotten to take fuel completely.
It is funny how they'll tell you what you're going to experience, but until you actually experience it, I remember somebody telling me that the second half of the race starts at mile 20 in a marathon. And twice I hit the first one, it was so slow it didn't happen to me. The second one, I was running a little bit faster and I hit the wall at mile 20 and I could barely move. I mean, it was like the next 5 miles was all I could do to keep my legs moving. So
it's good to know that happens to other people.
Yeah. So, but once
the people around you like look like they're moving and some of them are smiling, and I'm just like, what's wrong with me? Yeah.
I'll go back and say that I've done the ESPN twice, and that was like my least favorite part. So I think this new course is a little bit better.
How many times have you done a marathon?
Me?
Yeah, here at Disney. Twice?
I've done 2. Yeah.
When was your last one? 2018?
2019. So I did 2018 and 2019.
Okay. And you're going to be doing 2023.
2023, yeah.
Goofy, right?
For the 30th. Yeah, Goofy.
Dopey?
No, I would love to do Dopey, but we just can't make it down.
It's a lot of time.
Yeah, with the kids, because the kids are just starting school. And so we just can't take off that long because of them. But we're definitely going to do Goofy this time.
You're going to do Goofy?
Yeah, doing Goofy. I feel like, yeah, I keep watching, like, I see Lake doing Dopey. I see my brother and his husband doing Dopey and all these people. I was like, I got to step up and do something. Katie ran her first marathon. I was like, I got to challenge myself. So
he's going to be 20 miles in next year, and he's going to be like, why did I get talked into this?
I'm going to be like, I'll be going around that square in Blizzard Beach going like,
I have to shout out my sister and see if she still wants to do Goofy after we've talked about this. Leave it in the comments, Amy.
All right.
Yeah, we do have lots of love for Katie in the comments. Lots of congratulations. A couple comments from Christy here. She said she brought a Nathan water bottle for her, and that worked pretty well. She said she used BioFree. She put it on her knee, but she wished she would have put a glove on, which is a good thing to do if you don't want your hand to be all hot and cool.
She said, practice. Rub that BioFreeze everywhere. Everywhere I would be careful.
I would be careful.
Not all the body parts.
I would be careful because I'm scared to use it because I've had an allergic reaction to Icy Hot before, and that's why I've never grabbed the BioFreeze because I'm scared that I'm also going to have an allergic reaction to that. So
definitely something to practice with. And then Jennifer said a show on training for increasing speed, so back to the Packers like me would be great, so we can enjoy characters like Lake. And then Christy also said, yes, I want this too. That is definitely something we can probably put into the works here. Yeah, I'm sure once we get into kind of out of race season, we'll be hunting for some content here. So
we can only talk about Steve's outfit so many times. So.
I don't know. They're pretty on point.
Doing a Steve's outfit of the day. On
me and all my shoes. That was my biggest thing. I was talking to my wife. I was like, do I look okay?
Okay?
You're fine, okay. And I was like, okay for me. Just use context, So like terrible but acceptable.
You got my seal of approval.
I can't use that BioFreeze because Icy Hot still is embedded in my memory from running track and cross country in high school, and I used to get so nervous before races. And so whenever I smell Icy Hot, because people have all that Icy Hot on, it totally gets me nervous. So it brings me back to it's like, what is that? You've got the technical terms for like Freudians, some kind of weird.
I have an Icy Hot story that's not appropriate for this show.
Yeah, let's not talk about Icy Hot. Where you shouldn't put it, right, Steve?
I have an Icy Hot story about putting on an Icy Hot, not washing your hands, and then using the bathroom.
Don't do that.
So I'll go ahead and finish up the full here, just with my little stats, so that we can move on. We're running pretty long here. So in total, there was 11,317 finishers.
Wow.
Out of that, approximately 5,300 of them were dopey runners, which I thought was crazy.
Finishers.
I did
5,300 dopey finishers.
Yes. Yeah.
So I wonder what percent DNF. I mean, you get hurt, or you're dehydrated, or you can't make it's exhausting.
I don't know. And then of people who did not run dopey, there was 1,000 goofy runners.
Okay. Good to know.
So I thought that was all pretty cool. We did have one other topic here that Kara S. wanted us to talk about. She reached out to me on Instagram. And Steve E., this might actually be kind of in your wheelhouse here.
Okay.
Basically about consistencies with proof of time and the start group switch, especially between like Wine and Dine and this. And Katie, I think you have some input to this. But basically, if you weren't in, start 1 or 2, a lot of people are saying that there are a lot of inconsistencies with start groups, especially in this weekend, which I believe is a little bit larger than Wine and Dine. And then as well, this was the first weekend where they switched proof of time to be a minimum of 2 hours. And typically a 1:45 half would have put you in S1, at least for half marathons. And there were a lot of people who were like within that range reporting that they were getting bumped back.
Wow.
And apparently, I'm not sure if this is the scuttlebutt or what.
It might be a really strong theory.
Yeah, but I guess Run Disney has a cap on the corrals, and basically what they did was if it reached that cap, even though you should technically be in that cap, they basically just kept bumping people back corrals. So you ended up with faster people who should be in like S1, S2, ending up in S2, S3. And I do know we had a friend of like our group that's usually in S1 that got stuck in S2. And she was kind of just there, like, waving to us every morning.
Does that have anything to do with Club Run Disney?
I thought they were behind that, but maybe I'm not watching that. Yeah.
I don't think Club Run Disney. I'm not going to scapegoat
people said
that.
They were in 2 unless you were someone who was naturally in 1, and it was on your bib. I had to reach out to someone who's Club Run Disney to find that out, but there was a little logo on it. I don't think it's a large enough
cohort for it to really impact things.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough people for it to cause the problems that ended up happening because of it.
Yeah. I think the issue is that they just need to increase the proof of time again.
Yeah.
Like it feels like they put it lower to have less work for themselves. And that just ends up with a lot of like bottlenecks and stuff. Because you said you had this problem with Wine and Dine, right?
Yeah, there was 4 corrals and I was in 3, and it was wow. After there was one little bottleneck at the 1.5 mile mark for this, I was in 3, and there was 6 start groups, and the race was pretty open. I really didn't have any complaints about crowding this time. But Wine and Dine felt way more crowded to me, and there was probably a lot less people. But they stuffed them in 4 start groups at that point. So, yeah. I don't know.
What about you? Because I know one part of that issue too was people saying having Epcot so early in the race also caused a lot of issues.
I know for the full marathon, obviously that's the only perspective I have. It was lots of little things that culminated in a big problem, I think. And so the first issue is they let off those start groups real quick. I was surprised at how early I started, considering where I was, because they let off the start groups so quick. They allowed less time for the course to spread out. That plus what we've already said about them not having the proof of time for a few corrals behind 1 and 2 meant that there was a huge mixture of people's speeds. And then going into Epcot for the full, you had very little time to spread out before you got to the park, which is a narrow course. And then when you left Epcot, you go onto that 1 lane overpass. That 1 lane overpass was mile 3, maybe, somewhere around there. That I felt so bad for everyone around me, because it was everyone was walking, and it was it should not have been walking at that point. That's probably runners who were aiming for 4 to 5 hour at that point, and it was not good. Most people were keeping their tempers down, but it wasn't everyone. After that point, once we got to the road that going to Magic Kingdom, it got a lot better. And after that, I didn't see anything quite that bad, but it was surprising to me.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up because obviously that is a perspective that I'm clearly very ignorant to be honest. And Kara S., who had reached out, was very nice to send me like a whole full explanation on it, and I really did appreciate that. So I did want to hit that because, again, that was just something that I wouldn't have talked about that should be talked about because, we can talk about all the things we love about Run Disney, but we should also call them on things we don't like, which I think we tend to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chrissy said that they started quicker to accommodate the heat. That's
they have
likely
something they do.
Starting at 5 maybe is part of that too. And I'll let me just say too, is like for increasing speed. I'll say very bluntly, like if you want to increase your speed, don't run a Run Disney race. If that makes any sense. So run something local, run like a smaller race, a race you don't have to wake up at 2:30 in the morning for, or if you want to get a better corral or a better starting point, like find a local 10K half that you want to do. That's like a fast course. We talked about this earlier today. Space Coast, for example, over here, pretty flat course. It's runs in November, I think, like around Thanksgiving.
Either late November, early December, depending on the year.
Yeah, it's a fast course. It's a fun course. And, you don't have 10,000 other people, over there that you're running with. So, run a different race, run a local race, get up in the corrals and submit your proof of time. I think it's really tough once you get into where, Lake is running from or Steve is running from S1, S2, then you have a different, I think, experience with some of this. If you're headed towards the back half or the back corrals in Run Disney, it's almost like running a different race at certain times. You have a different, you kind of have a different experience with everything. So try to find some local races, try to find some flat courses and you can train for, and you'll have some good proof of times you could submit for Run Disney. I think Run Disney is tough events to PR, personally, for a lot of things, logistical reasons, waking up at very, very early hours and so on. So, and then the heat, obviously, too, which is, just being in Florida. So,
plus all those characters you got to stop and get your pictures with too.
There you go.
That just really slows you down. So
that's right.
Sometimes you're like, oh, I'm not going to stop, and then you see someone, and you're like,
I know. I saw Sebastian. Yeah, I was like, I almost took it for my sister-in-law. She loves Little Mermaid, and I was like,
Like, how often do you see Sebastian, right? Or the
exactly.
the dragon from the Fantasy Parade. That was pretty cool to see that too.
Absolutely. And then you don't want to stop for characters because you're out there pulling your calf and your hamstring trying to beat the young guys over there, Steve.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was running because I pulled up Life 360, which I track. We have like our whole family tracks each other on Life 360, and I was like, I wonder where Anna Week is. I pulled it up, and she was catching me. I was like, I got to pick it up. She started behind me. If she passes me, I'm never going to hear the end of it. So.
Nothing.
Hey, there was a couple other questions too that we could probably hit on quick before we get out of here that you had on here. Says, when did you find out the starting group? Kathy's doing a run, Disney Princess half marathon weekend.
Yeah, so you will not find your start groups out until you pick up your bibs now. And the only reason I know I'm going to be in S1 is because my proof of time is very low. So I can tell you I would more than likely be there next time. But otherwise, especially with what seems to be like start group lottery right now, you won't really know until you pick it up, especially if you don't have a proof of time. And then I'll go ahead. Do you recommend taking the first bus from your resort, or is that not super necessary? Asked by Amy. Hi, Amy. We didn't think it was necessary. We got on the buses for this weekend about half an hour after they started for each race, and I thought that was fine. Like I said, every day but the 10K, I had plenty of time.
One thing I'll say about that question is we used to kind of recommend if you wanted to take pictures with characters before races, potentially being a little earlier because then your lines will be a little less. They have not had characters out at the beginning or the end of the races since the races started back. So that's not really a suggestion we make until they start doing that again. So.
Yep. And then 2 more from Amy. Advice on handling those early morning starts for a newbie. I mean, for a weekend like Princess, where it might just be 1 or 2, it's really not too bad. Dopey, it definitely starts to get you. You wake up marathon morning, you're like, oh my gosh, I still have to do this, and I have to do the hardest one.
I mean, we went to bed every night between like 5 and 6 o'clock, which is pretty that's pretty intense. Most people would do like 8. But
did you actually sleep at that point?
I took melatonin every night.
Yeah, he would fall asleep before 6. Some nights I was awake because he was snoring, but what can you do?
Just drug yourself right to sleep.
We only had one room.
Yeah, I tend to take melatonin before pretty much like any race I do. And it's like not something I take all the time, but I do occasionally take it when I know I need to get a good night's sleep, and races are typically part of that. So it is something that I'm kind of like practiced with using before races.
Nice.
Another piece of advice I'd say for the early mornings is make sure you have all your stuff laid out. If you have breakfast type things in the room, bagels or whatnot, have that ready to go. We'll set up the coffee maker as much as we can, so we just have to get up and hit it. Just all those things that kind of keep you moving a little faster without having to think as much.
And then last one here, also from Amy. What did you do to recover between races? For the 5 and 10K, I really didn't do anything. However, we're not big, like, spend the day in the parks after racing. We are very much, let's chill in the room, chill at the resort, chill at the pool. So we did do lots of, like, resting and leisure. We would pretty much just leave the resort to, like, maybe go and do a dining reservation and then come back. Yeah. And even, like, the night before the marathon, we did, like, Uber Eats. That way we didn't have to go anywhere, but we could get like a good meal. And that actually worked very well. I was a fan of that for sure. I would do that again. After the half marathon, I was a little bit more regimented. I made sure I did stretching, I did rolling, and then I was like pretty strict on hydrating, bottle of water with noon, bottle of water with noon. So that all worked out pretty well. I never thought I had an issue with like hydration or fueling from that.
That's a good point with Uber Eats, because if you're staying at some of the Walt Disney World hotels, the food can be a little wonky, and you can get some. You get more options with Uber Eats as far as maybe finding something that you want before a race rather than what they're offering.
Yeah, we had been checking out the menus at a couple places around Disney property to see something that would be like easy to get to and good to eat. And we just couldn't find anything. Art of Animation used to have a great create your own pasta option, which they don't have anymore. So we just did Macaroni Grill because we could do a create your own pasta there, and it was good.
Yeah, I would definitely do it again. Like I said, I thought it was actually a very good option. It saved making a dining reservation that may have brought you into a park or had you do, bus to a resort and then walk to somewhere.
It let us eat and get in bed by the time we wanted to as well, where if you had to drive to a resort, eat, and then drive back, you're probably looking at like at least an hour and a half, process. So
when maybe you want to just relax at that time of night too. So Steve and I did a real good carbo load right before the half marathon that night too with a highlight. So that worked really good for us.
Just one.
Just one.
Got my roller here, by the way. Look at that. While we're doing this.
You gotta always be
training, always preparing.
So as we're wrapping up, what's next for us? I think we've already said we're going to be at Princess Weekend. We're doing the challenge. And then shout out to Katie's sister, Amy, who's going to be doing her first in-person Run Disney race and is also doing the challenge.
Nice.
Go, Amy.
She's super fast.
My next event will be tracking you guys.
Cheer squad.
Yeah.
Cheer squatting, texting you. You can do it from my bed. I'm gonna do the 10K.
Looking forward to it.
10K springtime surprise, and if I'm feeling dangerous, I might do the 10 miler. There might be a guy over here I know running the 10 miler, so I don't know. I might FOMO into it.
Come on, join the rest of us, man. Jump
did you join? Did you actually register?
I registered yesterday.
You did?
Yes.
So I've been wanting to do another race for a long time. So coming down to do the 10 miler. I really want to do the nighttime race is what I really like to do, but
it's hard with that being on that Thursday.
Yeah,
that's going to be such an interesting weekend.
Yeah,
you guys signed up for the challenge, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So you get 5Ks at night. 10Ks.
So the 5K is on Thursday. There's nothing on Friday, and then the 10K starts Saturday. So there's a whole day in between.
Yeah, My wife loves Ratatouille, and we had a lot of fun running the 10K Princess a couple years ago, and so I took the liberty of registering her, and hopefully we can get away from my kids. Love my children. No. So we'll see. We'll see if I can extend it and do the 10 miler as well. It's still open for registration at the moment. Tower Terra 10 miler.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, that'll also be both of my sisters are signed up for the 10 miler. So it's going to be their first Run Disney events as well.
Right,
Wow.
right.
A lot of firsts.
Are they all here in Florida, Lake?
So one of them is a cast member. The other one is still in college up in Jersey, outside of New York.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. Good place, New York. A lot of good people from there.
Yeah.
They seem
A lot of nice folks. A lot of nice folks named Steve from.
All right, people up in Jersey.
We have ran so very long. Do you guys have any other last comments? I just have one very quick thing before we wrap up here.
I really don't. It was a great weekend. It was, as Steve said, it was great to see all you guys down there. I think that's what really makes Run Disney special. I mean, the races are fun, but once you start connecting with other people around it, that's just really what makes it. So thanks for running with me. That was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a blast. And you're totally right. Like, Wine and Dine was a great, Run Disney is back kind of feel. But this was the weekend that everyone was like, all right, we're squatted up. Let's all do this.
Yeah. No, thanks for beating me by 40 minutes and not having a beer for me. I really appreciate it.
No, I'm sorry. Next time.
I will have a beer waiting for you after the 10K that you're running on Saturday for the springtime.
That's if you beat me. Oh, here we go. But feeling good.
the last thing I have is just shout out to all the awesome people that came up to all of us this weekend and said hi, said we appreciate your videos or your shows. Specifically, we had Jeffrey after the half, and we had Greg, I believe he was after the 10K. And I do apologize. The gentleman that came up to us at the expo, I was not smart enough to, at that point, be like, oh, I need to get your name. But shout out to you as well. It was so great to meet you. And there were other people as well who came up or just hollered, hey, we like your videos, that sort of thing. So thank you all. We appreciate it so much hearing that and having conversations with all. It means the world to us.
Quick shout out to Carly, too, who found us at Geyser Point. That she stopped by and said hi to Steve and I. Too.
Oh, yeah.
So she didn't run this time, but she's a runner as well. So,
yeah.
Just as you said, like.
Shout out to the volunteers at these races.
Yes.
Holler,
so cool.
Second
and all
that.
The cast members and everybody and strangers cheering and a lot of fun.
It was a blast, but we are running so super long here, so that is going to do it for this episode of the Run Disney Rundown. Thanks again so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell, all of that fun YouTube-y stuff. You guys can still hear me, right? I know my battery pack just died here, so we'll just go ahead and close it out. You can follow us by finding all of the links in the description below, as well as at the end of this video. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.